Booster Course Wave 5 for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is here, and we're checking out all changes and differences made for the returning courses. The second race of the Feather Cup is GCN Daisy Cruiser. Taking place aboard a luxury liner on the open sea, this track features a swimming pool with a likeness of the Princess of Sarasaland, split paths with winding decks topside and a cargo hold turned aquarium below, and a lavish dining room with tables that slide from rolling waves. So how does the most recent update differ from past installments? Let's find out. In Mario Kart Double Dash, Daisy Cruiser had a simple route system, with just one of several potential alternate paths used, and no traversable water anywhere. The ship itself appeared in various courses for a few games, even inspiring a baseball stadium in Mario Super Sluggers. For 7, the visuals were simplified, but the closed path at the start was opened up and the cargo hold was filled with water. Tour revamped the appearance, but kept the gameplay relatively the same. Using this model, the Switch version made many tweaks, but nothing too drastic. Nevertheless, some of the adjustments are indeed gameplay changes. Near the start for 3DS, safety cones were cleared out on our left, ship's right, to be able to go down the starboard promenade deck, with the cones at the end also removed. On the other side, items stopped rolling. The stairs on both sides became reshaped deck ramps with drop-offs allowing for tricking in Tour. This affected the space of the Lido deck below from readjusted barriers. The enlarged pool made a similar impact, but its redesign allowed drivers to cross the water. It now has 3 inner tube Goombas floating inside, and a new trick spot when entering. Seen better on the map, the curved staircase just beyond was reshaped in 7, with the railing and barrier on the left at the top, and cone on the right side at the bottom being removed as a result. Another trick could be performed on the first step in Tour, but not now. A barrier to the right of the dining room entrance was added, with the adjacent door being swung inward. Originally, 9 tables inside the dining room shifted from side to side every 9 seconds. They were invulnerable to items. For 3DS, only 4 tables slid at 7-second intervals, but these could be hit with powerful items. These tables changed positions in Tour, sliding naturally every 10 seconds or so, stopping on their own. However, the tumbling items disappeared from here. In different locations again for 8 Deluxe, the tables spin as they scoot across in 10-second intervals. Items are back. Also, the sealed off areas with unused tables and chairs are much larger now, narrowing the pathway. Ever since 3DS, an additional pillar could be found in the far left end of the room, while another was installed on the right side for Tour. In the passenger cabin corridor beyond, safety cones from GCN were pulled out, and the red arrow sign was moved to the window. Other signs like this were in various spots throughout all versions, so see what you can discover. Tour included another trick spot when exiting this corridor, as well as at the hatch opening, but they're gone now. This opening was adjusted back in 7 to clear the way for vehicles entering the aquarium, which used to be a cargo hold. Clampies were put in here, providing coins and items. They stopped holding items in Tour, but now the clampies moved and are holding items again. And drivers could land on the edge barrier ever since Tour. The vent was altered in 7 to include a couple of dash panels to propel racers rather than the cannon effect from the original, allowing for tricks at the end. These boosters were spread out a bit more in Tour. Also at this point, the nautical rope fencing was removed around the anchor windlass. For 3DS, railing was added at the bow pulpit to seal it off, and hanging life rings and related pole were taken out. But another trick first could be performed at the top of the steps along with these adjustments. Meanwhile, the forward superstructure shifted towards the bow to make room for racers, and all surrounding elements were adjusted to compensate. We're cruising right along, but we just set off to sea.
There'll be many aesthetic changes dead ahead.
Wait, this isn't a pirate ship. Anyway, for 3DS, the minimap was rotated 180 degrees, and texture, lighting, mild coloration, and cloud formation differences exist throughout all versions. Unique to Double Dash, the clouds and many other objects had eyes, gone since 7. Seagulls also flew away. With Tour's remodeling, mountains were added along the skyline. The Princess Daisy logo went through a lot of changes too, first being compressed for 3DS, with revised portraits. More portholes were added on both sides, and a lifeboat was lost on each side of the ship, while those remaining moved over. In Tour, all lifeboats vanished. However, the logo was updated again, and some of the windows above, where the lifeboats used to be, were drastically redone to match those seen from the inside. Other windows and portholes along the hull were modified in position and count too. A window on the left and right sides of the upper part of the forward superstructure was installed, with a porthole on the rear removed and others adjusted. On board, artificial turf areas switched to green with much larger flower patterns that shifted since, while stars were put on every so many railing posts to break the monotony. On the funnels above, golden stripes were added, as well as railing for the bridges, another set of wings for one funnel, and poles, some kept with red lights, on the wings. More streamers were attached to these funnels, with their flags swapped out for those featuring items from the game. Wind streaks appeared, despite the stillness of stationary objects. They are gone now, but the wind noticeably affects the streamers. Originally, the cruiser would rock, or roll, in the water. The ship stabilized in 7, switching the ocean style like that in the Wind Waker to a more basic wavy aqua and omitting the ship's wake. The backwash returned in Tour, but it now is gone once again. Sailing over to the starting line banner, we can see it was updated in 7 from having vertical gradient text with an orange stroke to horizontal gradient text with a black stroke and shortened side tabs. Meanwhile, the starting line checks were reduced from 40x4 in white and 2 shades of orange to 35x3 with dark orange replacing the light shade, while a starting grid was added behind it. Ever since Tour, the redesigned banner, which now flaps in the wind, has featured a flat red on patterned orange, held by ropes and straightened poles. At the same time, the starting line checks increased to 40x3 and the planks became smaller. Plants and observers were added on the grass here in Tour also, with both being different sets now on taller grass. Crowds like these all have different arrangements between the two versions. All translucent flower panes were made taller for the revamp and given orange petals, overhanging tops, and framework, while dropping the star decorations and star-topped posts. Fewer panes could be found left of the starting line, with more on the opposite side, extending to the forward superstructure. They now have petals that are almost completely opaque. For mobile, the recess of the orange and white barriers was removed and made to match the barriers at the stern. Simultaneously, bent streamer poles near the start were pulled out. In 7, 2 big red arrows were painted on deck by the fork, one for each path. And the metal promenade deck on our right, the ship's left or port side, became wooden, while planks under the other pathway were made much lighter than the decks. For Tour, the arrow markings were removed, and the windows facing racers on the central superstructure were transformed into portholes. Additional windows were installed along each side here, with the geometry adjusted. Even more portholes were added on the far side, replacing the windows. The grading style for the whole starboard promenade deck was altered, but the railing base has been raised significantly since. Each star post at the ends of the railings was removed from the promenade decks for 3DS, while the pathways have been adorned with 3 life preservers each with Tour's redesign. An equal alteration was done for the foundations of these platforms. The Princess Daisy design on the bottom of the pool was shrunken in 7 and updated to match the logo on the hull, with a red arrow added and pool tiles and edge pattern modified. Curved markings resembling starting lines were stripped away from the tan turf area, but a large darker tan stripe was incorporated instead. The Daisy emblem changed orientation in Tour, matching the logo again, with a tweak made to its edge too. Speaking of which, the edge around the pool became blue and white, surrounding tiles that shrank. For Switch, the pool tiles were removed, but the border around Daisy turned from red and white to blue and white. The nearby hot tub was given more railing for 3DS, but that just made it less practical. In Tour, the hot tub side and diving board were given simpler texturing, but the rim was expanded for a more defined shape. 2 umbrellas and 4 chairs were removed from the sun deck in 7, and Mii's replaced the piantas. These parasols were remade and moved for mobile, totaling 3 on starboard and 1 on port. More chairs, albeit in an updated style, were added on both decks, with all arranged differently. Additionally, beach balls and inner tubes were placed along the starboard sun deck, as well as tables with beverages on both. Fewer flower panes lined the decks, while Yoshi and Toad spectators replaced the Mii's. For the latest version, the planks were rotated from lengthwise to breadthwise. Tables and chairs on the sun decks turned from brown to orange and yellow, and some deliberate color alterations were made to the pool toys and this drink, too. Blue paneling on the aft superstructure facing the Lido deck was taken out in 7, and a row of windows were removed for the Tour update. The stairs after and all like them were turned into textures for 3DS, omitting the rocking when driving over them, but they became modeled again since. Now, steps no longer have nosing, and the rocking effect returned. Nautical rope fencing at the stern and lower promenades was pulled in 7, and the barrier at this spot became the striped type. And the cone at the left side of the stairs was altered to have a barrier segment in front, only to be removed in Tour, with all cones becoming smaller and striped. However, the rope fencing was restored, adding a bulwark running parallel to it. Fewer windows, simplified paneling, and a golden stripe on a more polygonal aft superstructure could be found as well. Little birds now relax on deck. The Mario Kart logo lost the star and the O for 3DS, and fewer promenade supports were used compared to the original. Ceiling lights leading into the dining room and beyond disappeared too. In Tour, the logo became an orange Daisy Cruiser label with lights above it, and pipework along a new rim was installed. Another pipe ran into the accessible lower promenade, with PA loudspeakers and smaller vertical pipes added along it. Below this, 2 handrails lined the wall, with a fire alarm between them. Windows replaced the mushroom and star pattern on the wall, and all supports on the opposite side became the same shape. Lights were put back on this ceiling, where they remain now. Seemingly, a new vertical rim by the right door was added. The dining room entrance was remade with wooden double doors for Tour's grand glow-up, and the sill below switched from metal to wood for 8 Deluxe. A runner rug was placed diagonally first in 7, which turned amber with a different design for the mobile update, being narrower and kept indoors. It's more decorative now. The carpet style changed from having large squares with dividers to polka dots for 3DS, and the arrow marks were omitted. Checks at the edges were reduced, while the design of the front and back walls switched from vertical to horizontal. A few more flower portholes were added to each side of the dining room too. But more interestingly, unused doors connected to the inaccessible lower port promenade and a related pillar in the front left corner vanished. Unique gold bands were added to the remaining pillar. In Tour, the carpet turned green, the checks were truncated, and the base trim was painted white. Meanwhile, the walls were given updated flower windows separated by pillars, along with stripes spanning the perimeter. Now the dining room carpet is teal with much larger dots, fully extending to the walls. Here, the windows seem translucent rather than opaque yellow, and a pillar decoration was added to the back wall. In 7, the drop ceiling was simplified from having a tray design to being relatively flat. The tapered pillars were modified from having stars, hearts, and clouds to standard lined pillars with stars only. These became boxy, but that's likely the result of poly-optimization. And the roped-off tables and chairs were reduced in count with fewer stanchions used. Tour redesigned the drop ceiling to have alternating shades of green, with peacock blue now, wrapping around the room, with floral light fixtures along the wider area. Hanging lights were placed along the barrel vault ceiling, which was modified to feature insets with 4-point stars, while the gables were given 2 distinct tones with no more daisy design. Pillars were given light fixtures too, with all ditching their wooden bases. And many of these pillars were connected to an ornate chandelier in the center of the room, modeled after Daisy's crown. Many interior lights here and beyond are brightly lit and shining on surfaces now, while others seem turned off, and the main chandelier crystal has an updated design. Tour introduced the revamped furniture, featuring added glasses, rolled-up place settings, and a new arrangement of potted flowers, changing again with realistic daisies in 8 Deluxe, for a centerpiece. Toads, Yoshis, and Shy Guys sit here now, bound to become seasick from all the motion. Further ahead, the purple and white barriers leading into the passenger cabin corridor became orange and white in 7, while the checkerboard flooring became like the dining room carpet, with the runner rug continuing. Sets of doors for an unused shortcut with a hallway between them were walled off. Such wasted potential. The barriers matched the dining room and Tour, and the portholes were given cross mullions. Simultaneously, the walls were modified with a splash of color, with daisies replacing mushrooms, as well as pillars with light fixtures. The drop ceiling design and color were altered for 3DS, but it was made more concave for mobile, with numerous small lights. Mostly matching the dining room, the barrel vault ceilings also were updated. In 7, the cabin door handles became flat, while a checkered strip and support braces were put by the hinges of the hatch. But for Tour, the doors were lowered to floor level, having 3D knobs again, and the hatch elements were tweaked a bit, ditching the strip and including stars on the exterior. These stars are gone now. At the hall exit, the ceiling edge was reformed in 7 to be angled rather than perpendicular to the hall, and the visual glitch was fixed. And the wall pattern was extended to reach the vent. The overhang in Tour was altered to resemble the drop ceilings, and pipework was added on the other side of this exit. Taking the other route, we see that the hatch opening was given a new texture. The aquarium was established for 7's update, including unagi and 2 cheep-cheeps. It retained almost nothing from the cargo hold other than the general shape and a vent without the fan at the end. Knees were placed behind glass to view the sea life and the rays. The cheep-cheeps were fished out for the mobile renovation, not returning since. The sand lost its waves and seashells, but little rocks were added and the lighting became inverted compared to the plain path. Meanwhile, the barriers turned into a simple blue and white type, while Yoshis and Toads replaced the Miis. The walls and ceiling became paneled and filled with rivets, with spotlights hanging above. Tube sponge coral at rock bases and by the vent was removed, while other coral was modified and added like staghorn coral. Now the spotlights shine boldly through the water. And while the little rocks disappeared, at least the sand looks real. Ever since Tour, small lights have lined the vent, with other adjustments made here as well. Outside, the planks by the anchor windlass, which was simplified in design, became regular deck wood for 3DS, and the tan turf at the bow pulpit was lightened. The checkered edge of the foredeck became more stretched out in Tour, and the barrier around the windlass turned orange and white. Mirrored portholes, a life ring, and a golden stripe were added to the superstructure, while the windlass gears were tweaked, and the bow pulpit and beam became a redesigned prow and jackstaff without railing. By the stairs in 7, a life preserver and a cone were taken away, with a barrier put by the remaining cones. The railing behind the hull was moved to the front of it for the mobile update, and the railing after the stairs sealed off the raised deck for 3DS. This is also when 2 big red arrows were painted on deck before the finish line, which were removed in Tour. We are almost done. Some auditory changes were made over the years, like how the ship horn from GCN that sounded periodically was removed for 3DS. But the ocean could be heard instead. Even the table sliding noise became higher pitched. Sadly, all soundscape was removed in Tour, including the table sliding. Tables produced realistic furniture shuffling sounds again, even making dinnerware clatter after being hit by an item. Seagull and ocean sounds are back also, even though we can't really see the seagulls. Whew, that was quite a long voyage. The music for Daisy Cruiser is very inspired by laid-back tunes of the Caribbean. It features a steel drum lead, pedal steel guitar slides, acoustic guitar arpeggios, Latin percussion, and legato strings for padding. Shared with GCN Peach Beach, the original sets the mood, but it has a lot of similar phrases and an unusual dissonant slide from the pedal steel. It's very relaxing. 7's version is nearly identical, just having different balances and fidelity. The arrangement has a tighter beat, adding the ratchet-like guiro and drum accents, and includes a beautiful secondary strings counterpoint that give the piece more dynamics. The dissonant slide near the end was replaced by a downward bend that complements the rest of the ensemble. It all ends with energetic strings leading the piece into the final bridge. This blissful masterpiece makes us want to take an island cruise with a tropical drink in hand. And that's about it for all changes we found in GCN Daisy Cruiser. While some may prefer the original design with its mini sliding tables, cargo hold, and swinging life rings, the modern take can be just as appealing to others with its easier navigation and underwater spots. But what do you think? Have you found any notable changes that we missed? Let us know in the comments below. And of course, stay tuned to GameXplain for more on Booster Course Wave 5 for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and other things Nintendo too. Thanks for watching. Until next time, ciao.